There we go. Hi, everybody. This is Dave Canfield, your creature feature preacher here with someone I am extremely excited to be talking to. And welcome to Creature Feature Preacher, and
Happy to
welcome
be
to
here. Happy to
someone.
be here. Thank you for having me.
Um, Chuck, I've had the fortune of meeting you before, um,
Yes,
and I have a whole bunch of Blob stuff signed by you because of that. Uh,
happy to have done that.
and you couldn't have been nicer. It's nice to touch base again after all these years. Um, One of the things I do with Creature Feature Preacher is I talk about spirituality in non-religious terms. I'm a graduate of Garrett Evangelical Theological Seminary.
Great.
I'm a liberal boogerhead in most things and almost all things. And I'm just fascinated by the way the spiritual weaves its way through storytelling and through fandom. And you have been such a big part of fandom in the United States, but I feel like it's been a while since you've been in the limelight again. And I think Witchboard is really going to do it for you. Was this a conscious decision on your end to pursue like genre film again?
Absolutely. I avoided it because as a young man, I was being labeled as a horror director. And I come from theater and stand-up comedy in Chicago. So I wanted to keep my versatility. So if I continued doing horror films after Blob and Elm Street, I was pretty sure I'd be labeled. And I began to concentrate on action and comedy. I got to do The Mask, which was my dream comedy.
Yeah.
And I continue to put some humor in different genres. Had a lot of fun working with action stars, uh, produced for Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx on Collateral. So I've had my adventures in Hollywood. And honestly, I've come full circle back to the horror genre because Greg McKay approached me about Witchboard. And I'd been fascinated with pendulum boards. And I was trying to come up with a storyline to involve the amazing mystical history of pendulum boards and do another story based around a magical prop the way I did in The Mask. So I thought, well, pendulum boards predated Ouija boards and were actually, it's actually a direct development because the French Pope outlawed pendulum boards and they were burning women at the stake for having them. So they became outlawed and eventually Ouija boards were developed to do similar things. So there was a direct line. I felt it was valid. So I got to put everything in this film that I've been wanting to do in horror and hadn't had the opportunity to do yet.
Well, and that's weird because a lot of your films deal in groundbreaking special effects, but they also deal um, in spiritual themes. Uh,
Correct.
and you you usually have like a pretty strong like a moral in your films. I wouldn't say they're polemic at all. They're just, you got your good guys and you got your bad guys, but also they're just fun. Your movies are
Thank you.
fun, man.
I can't help it. I get bored. I have a very short attention span. So even as a writer, if I feel stuck to an outline or a format, or in this case, it's never really a remake for me, it's a reinvention. So I give myself full reign. So if I'm not having fun, whether it's the writing or the directing or bringing something special out of my cast, then how do I expect the audience to have fun? So it's true in horror, it's all about scaring the hell out of the audience. That's number one. So if I when I call it fun, let's just say it's broad entertainment. We're doing things I've never seen before in the genre, and that's part of my fun with the piece.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because when I think of Eraser in The Mask, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Blob, I think even
Scorpion King, Scorpion King.
Scorpion King, these are all movies people still watch. These aren't, this is like your legacy was kind of like um assured. Are you, did you fear risking
No, because
the
I fear boredom. I want to, I want to keep going. I don't mind, criticism or whatever. But the point is I love making films. I love finding new talent, new actors. In this case, I got a great new composer as well, somebody I think is going to have an incredible career. Um, So yeah, I don't, it may seem like I'm stopping, but I'm always writing. And now I might do a couple in a row, it looks like. So, I'm happy to continue. I love taking risks, and we definitely took our risks on this one. But as it turns out, people seem to really appreciate it.
What is it for you about that? Your stories tend to have heroes. They tend to have villains. These days we like to tell stories about anti-heroes more, and we're very dystopian and apocalyptic in a lot of our stuff. Um, but you kind of always cheer on for the little guy.
I think there's a hero in everybody. In my personal life, I've been amazed at people that rose up under great opposition or against greater forces at risk of sounding dramatic against evil forces. I think culturally right now in the world, we all have a sense of movement of a greater evil. And we all have to be heroes, whether it's to our own families or friends or just to ourselves. I think here I've had the experience a lot of other filmmakers have not, and that I've seen my films all over the world, and I've seen a weird kind of evergreen thing happen where people still see my films, which is an honor, but it is also a responsibility. I don't like to put despair, I don't like to put hopelessness out there. I think it's a great dramatic element, but I think what you're referring to is that, well, horror does not require a happy ending, and I don't do a happy ending, in my opinion, in this film. There's great price to those who stand up against the forces of evil in the film. But I don't want to add to the general. It's kind of popularized right now, but I actually think it's lazy. When I see a film where it's all despair and you can tell early on the bad guy's going to win and no one's going to survive, I like the challenge of putting myself in the protagonist's position. What would I do? And then come up with a great ending the audiences don't expect, but that's satisfying. So that's why I think that it's a great kind of movie, the movie of despair. And there's been a couple of really great ones actually in the last year or two. But that's, I don't choose to spend my 2 years on hopelessness. So I like imagination. In this case, I got to do some sensuality I haven't done since The Mask, where we explore the sensuality of witchcraft. I think the idea of witches, especially contemporary witches, is very sensual. So you'll see some white witches here that I think are going to be very memorable to the audience. And I honor the history of witchcraft and why it can lead to a very dark place.
Oh, this is perfect because one of the things I wanted to ask you about is I think one of the great traditions in the horror movie is you always have the skeptic who's brought into some form of having to acknowledge a supernatural world. But in our world now, we have a lot of conspiracy theory. We have a lot of kind of very dark magical thinking about the forces of good and evil. And here you have these rites and these rituals, uh, but then you also have the idea, I don't think you often see this these days because there is so much backlash, understandably, against like the cross as a symbol, because it's been so horribly misused in the last few years. Um, but here it sort of signals something about innocence. It signals something about purity and
Oh, to
realness
me, that's
and
that's a small
actually
touch of that's a small touch of hope.
faith,
You know,
faith and hope against knowledge and power.
look, I was comfortable doing that. For our audiences, it's a very small element, but it's traditional. It was used in The Exorcist. I mean, it is traditional in vampire movies. And one thing I noticed that developed over the years was the evil character would say, "You don't have faith in that cross, so it doesn't work."
Yeah.
I actually think that's pretty accurate. So while it's an element here, I like that it's a bit of just a twinkle. It's like, what if that was hope? What if our lead girl is hanging on to a bit of innocence in the midst of absolutely horrific circumstances?
I find that incredibly touching because I think again when you reduce the idea of religion or spirituality down to the rites and the rituals and trying to get power and certainty and all these other things. The reality is that we all live with mysteries that are really confounding and hard. People die. Misfortune happens to people. I've been looking for a job for the last year. And here I am, still looking and
No, you're creating a job with this podcast, sir. So
I
I
think
would I would argue that, although I wish you the best in anything else you might try. No,
well,
you're legitimately asking very thoughtful questions, and I appreciate it.
thank you. And that's the idea behind the Creature Feature Preacher is I don't want people to lose hope in the world. And I want them to look at and take hope seriously wherever they're finding it these days, because we seem to draw these really good lines in the sand between the darkness and the light. I think that however you define that, you know, um,
We have one character played by a wonderful new actress, Mel Jarnick, who is plays Brooke, and I don't want to do a spoiler here, but you'll notice that she is very familiar with witchcraft. Maybe she's a witch, but is she, a white witch? Is she a dark witch? And that I would argue that my characters aren't just all heroes and villains for that and a couple of other characters. Uh, I want to give the audience somebody they can really relate to, that are maybe the ones that are interested in mysticism. Beware,
yeah,
the intention is what it's all about in tarot, in pendulum boards, in various other things. We're really tapping into your own subconscious and your own power as a human being. Where are you going to focus that power? On a dark side, on a light side? There is karma.
exactly.
All these practices acknowledge there's karma. So the dark path we should beware. And meditation and prayer. There's a light path that balances all that. So
Well, you can try to
I don't think it
control everything.
excuse me.
You can try to control everything, but sooner or later, it's out of your control. And that's what happens with this power that these people have in the movie. And they do have to make some very hard choices about how they're going to use their own power.
Well, look, we as artists we choose an unpredictable path. You're working without a net in many cases.
Yeah,
But there's a wonderful kind of freedom there. So we're relying on ourselves and our good intentions and the flexibility to pivot as things happen. I think that's what life is all about. I
yeah.
don't The safe, predictable road is often the least safe road, whether we know it or not.
Well, and predictable, your movie is not. And it's one of the things I really loved about this film is, again, I get back to that word fun. There is a nail biter of an ending. You really don't know how things are going to end up working out. And
Thank you.
the way they do work out is, I think, a neat bit of plotting. Do you have anything that you want to say that you think would just absolutely propel people into the theaters to see this? Because I hope that Chuck Russell keeps making scary movies
Oh
and
no,
keeps
you can't
making
stop.
horror movies.
I will carry on. Don't you worry. But the I have probably built up over COVID two other projects as well as this one. We got derailed like everybody else when COVID hit, but I intend to not take this long between pictures. But I wanted to make this was a little bit of a wish project for me. But I will carry on, and I'm not shy of the horror genre at all. It's a great cinematic genre.
Yes. Well, thank you. And just want to say another thank you for The Blob, one of the great special effects movies of all time. And I wish you well, sir, as you go
Thank you. I
out
wish
and
you
do your
well as
thing.
well. Thank you so much. It's good to see you again.
Nice to see you again, too. Bye.
Be well.